Just in time for the holidays, from Cleopatra Entertainment comes the horror crime thriller Silent Bite from 2024. This is a Blu-ray, 90 minutes, and it is directed by Taylor Martin with Simon Phillips, Nick Avoledo, Nick Biskupek, and Camille Biot. It is presented in 5.1 surround or stereo and features closed captions. What is this film about, you fool, you fool? This film is basically the deal. It goes a little something like this. A bunch of guys dressed as Santa Claus rob a bank, take off into the snowy upper Midwestern night, hole up in an abandoned not abandoned, it's open for business, but there's, as far as they know, there's nobody else there. Hole up in a motel until the guy they're waiting for shows up and they can split up the money and take off. But that's not all. There are residents in this hotel, and they're lady vampires. That's right, they're lady vampires against guys in Santa suits. That's sort of the setup for the movie. Basically, it's kind of like a mix of a bunch of things you've seen before. It's kind of, it feels you get a little bit of the Point Break thing with the guys who rob a bank all dressed the same way in some kind of funky costume. You get a little bit of the silent partner in somebody robbing a bank dressed as a Santa Claus. You get a little bit of Reservoir Dogs with people post-crime arguing and fighting and waiting for somebody to show up and things not going well. And you get a little bit of From Dusk Till Dawn with the vampires. Written by Simon Phillips, who also was in a film called Blood and Snow that I also talked about a while ago. That was interesting. It was sort of like a kind of a riff on The Thing, sort of. People holed up in a research facility, had blanking on his name, Wes from Road Warrior. So I met the guy, very nice guy. But he was the sort of the main name in that. So anyway, Simon Phillips is in this. He plays the leader of the, I get choked up when I talk about leaders. He's the leader of the Santa Bandits. And I really didn't think this was very good. Sorry. It opens up with a really interesting animated intro that I almost wondered if it was AI. It kind of had that vibe, but an animated intro, very stylish, of the robbery happening. And it starts off and I'm like, oh, this is really kind of a cool look. And then the more it's going on, I'm like, I bet we're not going to see the robbery. I bet this is a way to get around the expense of shooting. And this was a low budget film. And you know, whatever I'm going to say negative about this, always bravo on getting a film made, because I know how hard that is, funded, made, and released to the public. I will never diminish anybody's accomplishment as far as that goes. I'm just talking about how I felt about this. They were doing that whole animated intro, which looked cool, but then I'm like, that's probably a way to get around actually having to show it, and this is just going to be a lot of people talking and arguing, which is pretty much what this is. It's clearly made on the cheap, very small cast. Thought the acting was not very good for the most part. I thought it's a whole lot of F words getting thrown around, which is fine, but even with the Tarantino movies, after a while, you're like, enough, I get it. It almost feels phony. I'm like, I swear a lot. I have friends who swear a lot. We don't say it that often. It always feels like a forced way to make people seem tough or something like that. It wasn't that interesting to me. And the vampire stuff is really cheesy and really overly mannered and overly Euro gothy, whatever. When there are special effects, they're not that good, and it's just the colors look pretty. For me, it was just not good. It was pretty rough. So your mileage may vary. If you're looking for a winter themed horror movie, there are only so many of those, and this is a new one to introduce into that cavalcade of stuff. But for me, it was just a pass for me. So. Extras, we have a trailer that's 1.5 minutes long. We have a slideshow that's 2 minutes. But it's the kind of slideshow that always makes me roll my eyes because it is simply somebody pulling frames from the movie. Ideally, a slideshow is on-set photos, behind-the-scenes photos of ad material, posters, or whatever. But this is somebody essentially just, like, you could have done it yourself. You can create your own slideshow by fast-forwarding and then hitting pause and going, oh, look, it's a slide. It's that kind of slideshow, so that was kind of silly. And it features Cleopatra Entertainment trailers for other sort of similar genre releases, or in the same, like if you like this, you would like these. You get Cocaine Werewolf, Blood and Snow, which I was talking about earlier, The Black Mass, Lion Girl, What the Waters Left Behind Scars, which I quite liked, The Long Dark Trail, and The Ghosts of Monday. So available now on Blu-ray, and I'm sure streaming, is 2024's robbers versus vampires thriller horror film with some comedy, Silent Bite.